Hi and welcome to another 8-Bit Wars. My name is Swainy and this is the first time hosting the 8-Bit Wars. I'd like to thank Andy for giving me the chance to do so. Today we are taking a look at Target Renegade across the three home formats: ZX Spectrum, Amstrad CPC and of course the Commodore 64. First version we're taking a look at is on the ZX Spectrum. Now this is an all-time favourite game of mine. I highly anticipated its release back in 1988, as I was a huge fan of the original Renegade game. First time I played Renegade was on the ZX Spectrum, not the arcade version. I was in for a big shock when I did play the arcade version. I didn't think it was quite as good, it was very hard, and although I could complete it, I definitely preferred the ZX Spectrum version. I later played it on the Amstrad, which was again a fine conversion. I did eventually play it on the Commodore 64, but I did find it very disappointing. I remember having to use one of the keys as well as the joystick. I think it was the keys to punch, kick, etc. It just didn't feel right. The actual game itself wasn't programmed too well. So yes, this is the unofficial sequel. Now, legend has it that Imagine Software actually lost out on the rights for Double Dragon, but they still wanted to produce a two-player scrolling beat-em-up because they were suddenly becoming very popular after the huge success of Double Dragon in the arcades. So they went ahead and produced this game. Now, it's programmed by Mike Clam, who had programmed the original Renegade on the ZX Spectrum, and the graphics are by Dawn Drake. And those two done the Amstrad and ZX Spectrum versions, so they will play very similar. And as you can see, the graphics are fairly detailed, they move at a nice pace. We've got the dreary music, and the reason it's dreary is because of the background story of the game. All these scrolling beat-em-ups, usually you're going after a girlfriend who had been kidnapped or murdered, etc. Target Renegade's ever so slightly different. Apparently it's your brother Matt, who's a journalist who's been investigating the dodgy dealings of Mr. Big, has been murdered and you're seeking revenge. So yeah, you make your way through 5 levels. You start off in a multi-storey car park, then you hit the seedy streets, which is full of prostitutes, and then you make your way through a park, a shopping precinct, and then to a boozer called The Ship, where you meet Mr. Big. So yeah, it's a fairly basic scrolling beat 'em up. There's no interactive backgrounds like there were in Renegade 1 or Double Dragon. In Renegade 1 you had the subway edge and the pier edge that you could knock bad guys into the sea or onto the train track. Unfortunately this game lacks those, and I think it does suffer for it ever so slightly. Also there's no throw move unlike the original Renegade, but it's still very enjoyable, especially in 2-player mode. Have some of that. Alright, come on, let's get going. So yeah, it doesn't actually scroll as such. The Spectrum version and indeed the Amstrad version use a flick screen system, but I prefer that instead of jerky scrolling. You know, if it means sacrificing the scrolling, then so be it. I'd rather have a playable game. It's a shame I couldn't show you the 2-player option. Basically the sprite is exactly the same, so it can get quite confusing, but it does add to the fun. But unfortunately I'm Billy No Mates today, so it'll just be the 1-player version. Right, so yeah, as you can see, we're fighting against the clock as well as the bad guys. At the end of each level there's a phone that you have to answer. I guess they're instructions telling you where to go. It's never made clear who's actually on the end of the phone. And this game was also released on the NES. It was by a different set of programmers, Software Creations, and it really is just a clone of the original, well, the NES version of Double Dragon. Did I say SNES for? Yeah, I meant NES. It came out on the NES. It's nowhere near as good as this. Come on, 50 seconds. Not much energy left. There we go. Yeah, so Mike Lamb, the programmer, he had already done the first version. He went on to program Robocop and what else did he do? Batman the movie, Wet Clemens, a few other bits on the Game Boy. Very successful programmer. He set up a company called Leftfield, which done Excite Bike on the Nintendo 64. Right, am I going to die here? I believe I am because the clock is nearly out. Oh. Oh dear. Luckily I've got another life. Beat him up. And my skills have gone because that would never have happened back in 1988 when this was released. I'll answer the phone. That's it. Right, let's move on to the next version. Right, so here we have the Amstrad version, and it's a lot more colourful, slightly blocky graphics. It's not got as much detail as the Spectrum version, but gameplay wise it's very, very similar. It's coded by the same person as I mentioned earlier, graphics are by the same person who's done the Spectrum version, so yeah, there's a few extra frames of animation when you knock some of the bad guys over and when you get hit yourself. If you get whacked from behind, you sort of hold your stomach and fall over, which was not present in the Spectrum version. The music is virtually identical. It does seem to be a bug though, where certain bits of the music get left out. That might be because the sound effects are being produced by the same chip on this version. And I don't think the sound effects sound as nice as they do on the Spectrum. Right, come on, get up. Yeah, the layout of the game is very, very similar. On one of the later levels you've got a different weapon. I think they dropped the axe on this version. Instead you're given a brick to lob about, which doesn't really work as well. But yeah, it's a great version. I would have been very pleased with this back in the days. Come on, get up. Why do they always drop the weapons as they go through the lift? Surely you'd want to take that with you. Right, yeah, one thing I just noticed, apart from me dying, is that there are no sound effects for the motorbike, unlike the ZX Spectrum version. Also, the cars in the background, some of them look like spaceships. Little alien ships or something. Ouch. Come yeah, as you can see, it's a very, very good version of the game. Probably the best scrolling beat 'em up on the system, I'd say. Just as it was on the ZX Spectrum. The best of its kind. Alright, I think we've seen enough of this, so let's move on to the Commodore 64 version. Right, so the Commodore 64 version. As you can see, this looks totally different. It's got cartoony style graphics. I can tell you the collision detection is awful. It's only a one-player game as well. Controls are not great. It's a totally different set of moves, really. And you can't even knock the bad guys over. They just slide back. That's when you do actually connect with them. Yep, this version, it has to be said, is crap. It's a great game on the other two systems. On the Commodore, it is pony. It is a load of rubbish. The only good thing about it, and luckily it's a very good thing, is the music. The music is simply superb, but this, gameplay wise, oh my god, I can't describe how frustrating it is. It just does not compare. When you get knocked over, I don't know if you just noticed that, but there isn't even any animation to show the guy getting back up. He just appears on his feet. When he swings the baseball bat, it looks like he's playing baseball. Which I guess you would if you're swinging a bat about, but I don't know, it just does not look right. There's only one type of enemy on this level. It scrolls, so that's a plus point. And, quite frankly, like I said on the Spectrum section, I'd rather a game be playable than it featured scrolling. If you've ever played Renegade 3 on any of the home formats, you'll know what kind of game this is, because this is what Renegade 3 was based on, it seems. The engine from the Commodore 64 version was used for Renegade 3 on all three formats. Bad collision detection, one player, crap moves, crap gameplay. This suffers exactly the same problems as Renegade 3. They just slide back each time you hit them. So yeah, as you can probably guess, this version is not going to win today's 8-bit wars. It's a toss-up between the Amstrad and Spec Heap. And, you know, they're both great versions. It's a really tough call to make. The Amstrad version obviously has got the colour, a few more frames of animation. The sound let it down a little bit on the sound effects department, and I don't know why, it just doesn't feel as brutal as the Spectrum version. Like the knee move to the groin, it just does not seem as brutal, but it's still a great game. Compared to this, it's just amazing how bad the programmers of this version got it wrong. Oh god, just want to get it over and done with. Alright, yeah, I think I've played just about enough of this as I can stomach, guys. The music just does not save it. Sorry.